Welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be breaking down this hard, emotional triplet bounce style beat. As I'm sure you guys know, Lil Baby and Lil Durk dropped their new album, Voice of the Heroes. You can expect to hear a lot of beats like this on that album. And yeah, let's get into it. I started off with this contact piano called The Gentleman. I just turned up the tone closer to hard to give it more of a sharp sound, but apart from that, it's completely dry. That chord is a C sharp minor. What I've done for the first chord is bring the middle note down from E to D sharp. So that's creating some tension between these two. So you start off with the tension and then kind of resolve into the second chord. As you can see, I've added quite a long bass line. So it starts off on the C sharp, which is the root note of the chord, then moving up to D sharp, which kind of gives that tension as it's the second note in the key. Then A, which is the sixth, which comes down to the fifth again. This creates a nice bit of tension and resolve going from the sixth into the fifth. Then the F sharp, which is the fourth, the E, which is the third note in the key, and then finally coming back to the D sharp, which resolves nicely into the C sharp, which is obviously the root note of the key. I've also added some top line notes to give a bit of flavor. Now this is where I was thinking about doing the triplet style beat. So what I did was switch to the third step setting, and as you can see, these very top notes and the ones here as well, they are on a triplet kind of bounce. So that's helped create the bounce, which then I'll use later for the hi-hats and the drums. I find that these style beats are often very simple. They don't do too much processing. They keep the sounds pretty plain and dry. So what I've done is added a reels for a little bit of texture. I've used the baked preset and brought the hiss and the motor down a little bit. And I've also added an EQ, cutting the low end at around 250 hertz, just so I can leave room for the 808 and stuff like that. Next up, I added some vocals. I started off with a main melody line, then I added 2 layers of harmonies on top. So without any effects on, it sounds like this. As usual, I added an alter boy. I only shifted the format by -2 just to give it a little bit of a change. I went a little bit more crazy on the EQ with the vocals. I've cut some low end out and these frequencies here because I didn't really think they sounded very good. And I've also boosted the highs quite a lot just to give it a bit more presence over the piano. And finally, I've used this intensity reverb from Arturia, this preset gentle vibrato, and I've just brought down the dry wet to just over half. This makes it sound quite thin and almost like it's in another room, like a bathroom or something. So I've added effects to those vocals on separate channels, but then what I've done is routed them all to this one, number 20. It can be anyone that you like. For me, this just makes it a little bit easier to control. So I've just got one volume knob for all of the vocals. You can also add some more effects to them if you want to add something to every one of them, like a compressor or more reverb, whatever you wanted. After that, I wanted to add an accent on the one so it hits when the drums come in. So I opened up SRX Orchestra from Roland and I found this flute that I thought sounded really good. I felt like that needed a lot of processing though, so I added quite a few effects. I started off with a really heavy delay. As you can see, the mix is at 80%, the feedback's at 95%. I've also kept the modulation up so it has a bit more of a chorusy effect, and the drive is up a little bit as well. On top of that is a cassette with the crushed preset. I brought the static down, and really that just gives it a nice bit of texture within the mix and allows it to stand out more. And finally is an EQ cutting the lows out. To add to the orchestral feel, I wanted to add some more strings, so I thought I'd grab some from SRX Orchestra again. This is a really good VST for orchestral sounds like strings, flutes. It even has some nice percussion and stuff like that. I tried to kind of follow the vocals with this counter melody, so you'll hear some of the notes are hitting what the vocals are hitting. I did this to make sure everything was fitting nicely together and nothing was doing too much. Next, we're going to move on to my favorite part of this beat, which is the drums. This is one of my first times trying out the triplet bounce, but I think it went really well. So I started with the hi-hats because I feel like that's the main component of getting this bounce to sound really good. So make sure you go up here and set it to 1/3 step or 1/6 step as well. That will fit within this bounce. I've just drawn in straight hi-hats, but rather than it being a 2-step, it's more of a 3-step, and that's what's giving you the triplet kind of flow. By the way, all these drum sounds are from Cavan's new drum kit. Definitely go check that out. It's super fire. And yeah, the link will be in the description for that. Next, we moved on to a simple clap, which is exactly the same if you're doing it in a normal 2-step pattern. Then I've added an open hat, which hits on the 1. It just kind of emphasizes the 808 in the kick. After that, I've added a snare for some bounce. I feel like this is really important for the triplet style beats. On top of that is a perk for some added bounce. Now my favorite part of the drums is of course the 808. I felt like I had to use the spins on this one, and luckily Cavan's kit had one. All I did was follow the bass notes that I added in with the piano earlier. And finally, I've layered a kick on top of that. Now I'm going to move on to the structure and how I arrange the beat. The intro has the vocals and the piano, and I've also added a synth bass just to give it a bit of a darker feel. For this beat, I've started off with a verse. I feel like Lil Durk and Lil Baby like to do that quite a lot. So I've taken out the vocals for the first 8 bars and I've brought in this little flute hit that we added. Then for the second 8 bars, I've brought the vocals back in. Then I've added the strings for the next 8 bars, as you can see, and the 8 bars after that are the exact same. Then I've moved into a sort of bridge kind of section where I've actually taken out the piano for the first part, and I've just left the vocals and the strings. Then the piano comes in for the second half of the bridge. I've just added little stops and starts to make the beat interesting for the artist. For example, I've made the kick pattern unique down here and just in this little roll. Okay, that's today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next one.